¿Qué tal, mis chiquis? ¿Cómo están? Buenas tardes, buenas noches, buenos días. Depende de dónde nos visiten. Vamos a hacer una prueba de sonido. ¿Me confirman si se escucha bien, por favor? Ok. Ok, se escucha muy bien. Bueno, ¿qué tal? ¿Cómo están? Antes de comenzar, déjenme... Empieza... Ya estoy aquí en la fila, para que no tengan miedo. Ya hasta probé mis configuraciones. Estamos listos para entrar a la reunión en cuanto empiece. Va. Y bueno, ahorita, de hecho, en lo que estaba aquí configurado todo, vi que hubo esta vela roja, señal de que ya salieron los resultados. Recuerden que el informe es en media hora, pero liberan un poquito antes los números, y aquí están los números. Sale, aquí dice, tercer cuarto, resultados de AMC. Bueno, el día que está, aunque hubo un revenue total de más bien 1,348 millones de dólares de revenue, ¿sale? Se acordarán que les dije, aquí lo tengo, el esperado era de 1,334 millones, ¿ok? Entonces, bueno, fue aquí 1,348, un beat de 14 millones. Bueno, 14 millones son 14 millones, son buenos, ¿va? Y aquí, bueno, en la parte del EPS no llegó como esperaba, llegó con una pérdida de 20.7 millones, ¿ok? Entonces, aquí el EBITDA fue positivo, eso sí, fueron 161.8 millones en el EBITDA, positivos, repito. Entonces, eso también ya fue otro EBITDA positivo. Y el efectivo usado para las actividades operativas fue de un negativo de 31.5 millones, ¿ok? Y tenemos ahorita en efectivo o en equivalente efectivo 527 millones, ¿ok? Entonces aquí Aramaron pues pone aquí unas ¿algún segundo? No, espérenme. Aramaron pone aquí unas notas, dice, estoy casi eufórico acerca de la mejora vital que hemos tenido en AMC en este tercer cuarto, porque logramos dos milestones o dos metas importantes en lo que ha sido un largo camino de recuperación de post-COVID. Primero, solidificamos los métricas financieras y a pesar de la pérdida neta de ¿cuánto les dije? 20 millones, 20.7 millones, el EBITDA ajustado en el tercer cuarto de 2024 fue el segundo mejor, con el mejor desempeño de cualquier tercer cuarto en la historia de AMC de 104 años. Ok, ¿qué nos está diciendo aquí Amaron? Nos está diciendo que en 104 años, este ha sido el mejor tercer cuarto de la historia de AMC, ¿sabes? Eso es muy, muy importante. Y lo que es más, en el tercer cuarto, el total de revenue de AMC fue 31% más fuerte que los revenues de Q2 de 2024, donde la pérdida neta se ajustó en un 37% comparada con la pérdida del segundo cuarto de 2024, ¿sale? Y nuestro EBITDA ajustado fue 4 veces más fuerte, wow, 4 veces más fuerte que el del Q2 2024. Este es un resultado directo de la mejora en la taquilla de la industria a través del tercer cuarto, lo cual esperamos que continúe hacia adelante. Y segundo, todo esto fue el primer punto. Y segundo es que se está fortaleciendo la hoja de balance de AMC y nuestras deudas se anunció en julio que fueron empujadas el pago de las deudas de 2.4 billones en deudas de largo plazo hasta 2020, de 2023, perdón, a 2029 y 2030, lo que yo ya les había dicho. En adición a esto, en este año, o hasta ahorita en este año, AMC ha reducido la deuda en un total de 349 millones. AMC ha rebajado la deuda 349 millones, lo cual es buenísimo, a través de nuestro esfuerzo de capitales, y incluimos la recompra de deuda y intercambio de equity. ¿Sale? Entonces, bueno, ahora Maron continúa. Aquí estamos viendo, durante el tercer cuarto de 2024, estamos orgullosos de que AMC también logró un nuevo récord para la admisión del tercer cuarto, de la ganancia por visitante. Está en un récord de todos los tiempos, de cualquier cuarto, para la comida y bebida, en la ganancia de comida y bebida por visitante. Es particularmente motivador que, debido a que hemos trabajado tan duro en poner en su lugar eficiencias o eficacias más importantes en la parte operacional y financiera, logramos realizar un EBITDA positivo. Y en este cuarto que completó, que fue en línea con los niveles prepandemia de 2019, lo cual también es muy bueno. Bueno, y también dice, hemos ya logrado el nivel prepandemia, incluso cuando la visita, con la cantidad de visitantes del cuarto fue 25% menor que la del mismo cuarto en 2019. Bueno, entonces, en resumen, el EPS, ¿sale? Llegó de 4 centavos negativo. Pero, ojo, esperaban 8 centavos negativos, ¿sale? Esperaban 8 centavos negativos y llegó de 4 centavos. Entonces, aún así, aunque fue negativo, y yo creo que fuera positivo, fue mejor de lo esperado. De hecho, aquí lo pueden ver. Aquí está. Bueno, me está. Esperaban 8 centavos de pérdida y 1.334 billones de revenue. Y como les dije, llegó de 1.348, o sea, 14 millones arriba. Es un beat. Y el EPS llegó negativo, sí, pero de 4 centavos y esperaban negativo de 8 centavos. Entonces, pues fue un beat. Bueno, no sé si como pensaba abrir el video, pero pues esta pinche vela roja me brincó. Entonces, bueno, la atacamos. Ahorita vamos a ir rápido a la parte de preguntas y respuestas para preparar todo para el video del webcast, perdón, de Adam Aaron en 20 minutos, ¿sale? Entonces dejamos ya preguntas y respuestas. De entrada, para los que no sepan, si viven en una cueva, ayer hubo elecciones de Estados Unidos y Donald Trump le puso la paliza de su vida a Kamala Harris, que la verdad se hacía una candidata muy incompetente. Yo no me atrevo a opinar en políticas exteriores, no trabajo en el gobierno, pero en la parte, por lo menos del mercado, sí puedo opinar. Y les dije siempre que Donald Trump era la mejor opción para el mercado, y así fue. El día de hoy estuvo brutal todo. Aquí pueden ver el pinche SPY. Digo, las Qs, perdón, estaban en 4.86. Máximo histórico el día de hoy, 505. Estamos hablando de una subida del 20, ¿sale? De 20 puntos en 2 días. 2.72 únicamente el día de hoy. El SPY hace 2 días estaba en 570, está ahorita en 591. Se subió 20 también. $20 en 2 días, brutal. Y el que tuvo un brinco masivo fue el Dow Jones, estaba en 42.000. Y está ahorita en 43.700. O sea, realmente fue una brutalidad lo que vimos el día de hoy. Todo subió de una manera descontrolada. Tesla subió el 14.7%. Bitcoin subió el 7%. Está ahorita en 75.800. Tocó máximo histórico 4 veces el día de hoy. La más reciente fue 76,514. Fue la de hace una hora. Y ahí va para arriba. Aquí Mara. Bueno, aquí no sé qué se me puso Ether, pero Mara también. Vean la pinche barrera, ¿sabes? Estos 19.42. Esta línea lleva aquí meses, ¿sale? Entonces aquí pueden ver, intento, no pudo, intento, no pudo, intento, y no dejan pasar. Pero siempre que el Bitcoin siga empujando o mantenga el nivel que tiene, esto va a romper y va a romper fuerte a la alza. Y hacia arriba, el siguiente nivel fuerte es de 23, ¿sale? Entonces, excelente día. No sé ustedes cómo les fue tu portafolio. Yo les dije también, otra que les comenté en el último video, les dije de Palantir, ¿se acuerdan? Me preguntaron, les dije estoy bullish en Palantir y vean, eso fue que como por acá, güey. Estábamos en 41, estoy en 55. Estamos hablando de una subida del 16, prácticamente un 40% de incremento desde que dije que estaba bullish en Palantir y ahí va para arriba y sigo bullish en Palantir. Realmente les dije en su momento es una empresa de AI con aplicaciones militares totalmente automatizada, completa y funcional, cosa que muchas empresas aún no tienen. Dicen mucho AI para acá, AI para acá, pero realmente no tienen un uso real que puedan aprovechar la inteligencia artificial. Pero Palantir sí lo tiene. Por eso me gustaba la empresa, me gusta la empresa y vean, 40% en 4 días desde que me preguntaron. Ojalá hayan entrado a la jugada, porque está bastante bien. Vamos a hablar ahorita de todo, de Mara, DJT, Bitcoin, Palantir, ojo en SoFi, con Trump. Viene un cambio masivo en mi portafolio, porque hay que ajustarse a los tiempos. Y recuerden que Trump, por ejemplo, Enphase, SoFi, Tesla, DJT, Bitcoin, Mara, ¿cuál más? Bueno, tengo como 10 stickers que ando moviendo porque va a haber cosas que tengo que sacar de portafolio y cosas que tengo que meter, ¿sabes? Entonces, voy a hacer un video únicamente dedicado para eso. El día de hoy no lo voy a hacer porque no hay ni tiempo ni nada, pero vamos a ir con la parte de preguntas y respuestas ya para estar listos para el live, el webcast, ¿sale? Empezamos, a ver. Dice Junior, hola Junior. Daniel, listo, sale. Mantequilla, Trump corre a Gary. Sí, Trump va a correr a Gary Gensler. Trump va a correr a Jerome Powell. Muerte, fuera. Por eso querían el par hacer algo al respecto. José, Inge, saludos. Esto pinta bien, pinta muy bien, José. No pinta bien, pinta muy bien. Muy bien. Mike, ¿cómo les gusta echar mala vibra a AMC los del grupo de Telegram? Ah, bueno, pinche. Mira. La verdad es que hay gente que está ahorita con muchas pérdidas en Telegram, en Twitter, en Face. Y es gente que quiere ver el vaso medio vacío, gente que está negativa y quiere repartir su negatividad a todos los demás. Entonces, de verdad, bueno, no los culpo, cada quien, es su forma de ser. Yo lo que hice cuando vi negativo en mi portafolio es comprar DCA. Y ahorita estoy verde en uno, estoy casi verde en otro. Y sí rojo en otros 3, pero no pasa nada. Vamos a llegar en verde. Entonces, mira, la mala vibra te la sacudes y ya. Mike, ¿cómo? Ah, no, ese fue. Javier, Inge, buenas tardes. ¿Qué opinas de las acciones de Trump DJT? ¿Despegarán? No. Bueno, sí, lo van a hacer eventualmente en los próximos meses. Yo creo que de DJT, aquí la tengo, se las corto cada que tenemos. De DJT, vimos una fuerte bajada. Creo que vimos el famoso compra el rumor, vende la noticia. ¿Sale? ¿Por qué? Porque DJT, como saben, es el Truth Social. Es una empresa como tipo Twitter. ¿Sale? Trump ya regresó a Twitter. Ya es best friends con Elon Musk otra vez. Entonces, no creo que le vaya a pegar mucho en la competencia a Twitter. No creo que ahora Twitter con el valor que demostró en las elecciones, si vieran cuánta basura veía uno en CNN, en NBC, en BBC, en el mainstream media, uno veía cada cantidad de basura sobre las elecciones, sobre lo que decían o no decían, mentiras claras e inventadas sobre Trump y sobre Harris, sobre Harris a favor y sobre Trump en contra. Entonces realmente quedó muy remarcado, quedó muy calcado para mí que el mainstream media está muriendo. Creo que ahorita lo que va a estar más importante es la parte de Twitter. Y no creo que Trump o su Truth Social le vaya a pegar mucho. Entonces, creo que básicamente lo que vimos en DJT fue un compra el rumor, vende la noticia. Creo que de aquí puede recuperar. Vamos a ver. Tal vez pueda llegar otra vez aquí en los 46. ¿Vale? Creo que es un buen nivel, 46, 50. ¿Sale? Y de ahí no creo que vaya a pasar mucho. Porque como te digo, hay mucha competencia y no creo que le quiera pegar a Twitter. Porque la verdad, siendo honesto, no creo que pueda pegarle a Twitter. Entonces, bueno. Eso fue para Javier. José, buenas noches desde Valencia. José, Valencia. ¿Qué onda, hermano? ¿Cómo va por allá con lo de las lluvias? Escuché que ya había llegado el gobierno, ¿no? Que ya llegó el rey y un montón de cosas. Entonces, pues ojalá se empiece a arreglar todo el pinche el problema que tienen ahí. Te mando un abrazo allá a Valencia. Máximo, buenas, ¿listos para la acción? Nací listo. Hable de Mara, por favor. Mara la está rompiendo. ¿Qué les puedo decir sobre Mara? ¿Sale? Vamos a ver para acá. Vamos a ver acá. AMC. Vengo para acá. Aquí la pueden ver. Mara está ahorita en un nivel crítico de los 19.40. ¿Sale? Pero el Bitcoin está en máximos históricos. Ahora, cabe recalcar que Mara también reporta hoy reporta Mara, hoy reporta Space, o ya reportó, y reporta AMC. Mira, aquí está. Aquí está Space, vamos a ver. Reportó una pérdida de 74 millones. A ver, por acá lo tenía. Vamos a ver. Con Space fue un beat, ¿sale? Esperaban un EPS, perdón, de -4, llegó de -2. Bien, digo, es un beat. Y el revenue esperaban de 2 millones. No, espérate. ¿Esperan de 2,000? No. A ver, espérame. Dice aquí que llegó de 402,000 el revenue. Vamos a ver. Septiembre 2024. Ok, tuvo una pérdida de 74. Imagino que millones. Ajá. 74 millones. Y el EBITDA fue de 59 millones en pérdida. Fue negativo. No como AMC. Entonces, bueno, aquí pueden ver. Fue un beat y un miss. Lo que tuvo Space. Y también Mara reportó hoy. Ciérrate. A ver si ya está aquí. No. Aquí lo tengo también. Vamos a poner acá un segundo. En Mara esperan una pérdida de EPS de 0.32 y un revenue de 141 millones. Vamos a ver cómo nos va con esas, pero bueno, Mara le está yendo muy bien y le va a ir muy bien. ¿Por qué? Porque tiene muchísimo Bitcoin. Es la top 3 de las mineras más grandes del mundo, más eficientes. Está comprando la competencia, eliminó la mitad de su deuda completamente en diciembre del año pasado. Entonces, con lo que tiene de su capacidad de minería, su hash rate power, con lo que tiene de su share market y con lo que está subiendo ahorita el Bitcoin en 75,000 o 76,000 dólares, olvídate, va a ser lodo. Mara va a ser lodo con la competencia y creo que le va a ir muy, muy bien, ¿sale? Me quedan 10 minutos. Déjame acabar con las preguntas porque se los acaba. Ahorita sigo con Bitcoin y con Mara, Máximo. José, ¿se escucha bien? Ok. Cada trimestral los cortos nos bajan, pero esa es la forma de ellos de hacernos creer que la acción no subirá más de 10,000. Exacto. Se oye bien, gracias. John, alto y claro, gracias. Se escucha bien, Inge, gracias. Espérenme. Saludos, Inge. Vecino, ¿cuándo unas chelitas? Sí, unas chelitas se antojan. Espérense, aquí está bien. Ok. Aquí pueden ver lo que le dije primero yo, lo vieron primero con el Inge. Esperaban una pérdida de 8 centavos, llegó una pérdida de 4 centavos. Yo quería un EPS positivo, 1 centavo, pero bueno, no alcanzamos, pero fue mejor de lo esperado, ciertamente. Y El revenue esperaban, lo que les comentaba, 1,334 llegó de 1,329, también es un beat. Fueron un beat en ambos, ambos medidas, y aún así bajamos el 5%. O sea, ridículo, pero bueno, no pasa nada. EBITDA negativo, muy cerca del positivo. El EBITDA fue positivo. Aquí está. El EBITDA fue positivo. ¿Dónde está el pinche EBITDA? Aquí está. ¿Sale? Fue EBITDA positivo. No se confundan. Seguimos, encontré más con todo, con Bitcoin, con todo. Saludos, Inge. AMC cayendo, pero era de esperarse siempre. Fue mejor de lo esperado el EBITDA, fue mejor de lo esperado el EPS, fue mejor de lo esperado el revenue, y aún así bajamos. No pasa nada, 100 puras taquillas. Todas las taquillas las va a romper en Q4. Ya les mostré todas las películas que faltan, entonces no pasa nada. Inge, saludos, Trump, yes, ya nos tumbaron, Inge, nos bajaron el precio, sí, ya vi. Hola, Inge, Mara, ¿sube o sube más o vendemos? Va a subir más. Buenas tardes, Inge. Saludos desde Fresno, California. Saludos. Hacía mucho que no me podía conectar a su live, pero aquí estamos. Gracias por tu tiempo. ¿Qué onda, Juan? Saludos. Buenas noches, Inge, desde Canadá. Saludos, Jesús. Eduardo, ¿le parece exagerada la caída de hoy después de la esfera agua? Totalmente, Eduardo. Totalmente, güey. Estamos, nos fue mejor en el EPS, nos fue mejor en el revenue, nos fue mejor en el EBITDA y caemos el 5%. Es ridículo, es ridículo. Eddie, saludos, Inge. La neta que me dormí con Tesla, caos, ni modo, vienen otras más. Les dije, Tesla, DJT en su momento, Palantir, Bitcoin, Mara. O sea, mira, un hitazo. Inge, ¿cómo ve ahora Tesla cuando puede subir? Como dijo. Oh, se me movió. Güey. Aquí está. Como dijo en video y en por qué iba a subir. No, Tesla va a seguir subiendo, ¿sale? Ahorita Elon Musk es el besties de Trump, ¿sale? Trump se deshacía en elogios a Elon Musk. Elon Musk realmente le ganó prácticamente la elección a Trump. Si me preguntas a mí, ¿qué fue diferente este año con el 20? Elon Musk le dio el gane a Trump. Fácil. Y aunque Trump es súper pro petróleo, o sea, súper pro, vamos, con vehículos convencionales, aún así, va a dejar trabajar a Elon. Y el apoyo gubernamental de $7,000 máximo, tampoco es como que vaya a quebrar a la empresa. Entonces, pero creo que lo va a dejar trabajar, va a poner las tarifas que mencionó a autos chinos, que es lo que le está pegando ahorita duro a Tesla. Entonces, creo que le va a ir muy bien a Tesla en los siguientes 4 años. ¿Qué pasó con el reporte de ganancias de Mara? Se supone que hoy lo liberan. Sí, hoy también. Es Mara, Space y AMC. Tiempo. 7 minutos. Inge, ¿cuál es la perspectiva de Nvidia? Nvidia es una burbuja, pero vamos a ver si revienta. Ahorita le estoy yendo muy mal a Supermicro. Está yendo mal a AMD. O sea, le fue mal a varios que están dependiendo de Nvidia. Entonces hay que tener un ojo muy de águila en Nvidia para su trimestral. Pero creo que la burbuja aún no revienta. Pero ojo, mucho cuidado. Mi primo Javier, de AMC es 4.22, ya estoy verde desde hace rato y vamos con todo. Muy bien, Javier, felicidades. Belemsky, saludos desde CMX, Inge. Con la llegada de Trump, ¿qué opinas del crash que nos respiraban en la nuca? Creo que ya no va a haber crash. Creo que ya no va a haber crash por el momento. Creo que va a haber se va a enfriar el mercado durísimo en el reporte de febrero. Creo que el reporte de febrero es cuando va a traer el resultado de todos los layoffs, todos los despidos de temporada. Quiero aclarar, es de temporada. Pero son despidos, al fin y al cabo, del mercado laboral. Ahorita el mercado laboral no se derrumbó porque hubo muchas contrataciones para las elecciones y la temporada de Thanksgiving, diciembre, enero, ¿sale? Pero creo que esos trabajos temporales se van a ir en el reporte de febrero y creo que ahí vamos a ver un fuerte golpe al mercado laboral. Entonces vamos a ver ahí mucho temor, mucho ruido, pero no creo que alcance para una recesión. Creo que ya la libramos. Ok, rápido. Saba, HMC, Tujura no la conozco. Saba y HMC me encantan las dos. Conrad, Inge, Mara no reporta hoy. No sé si movió la fecha por las elecciones. No, Mara ya reportó acá. No, espérate. No, sí es cierto. Es el 12. ¿Está para hoy? Mira. Qué bueno que me dices. Sí, aquí está. Se cambió para el 12. Bueno. Mejor, así no se me junta con AMC. Alfonso, gracias, saludos. Belensky, Inge, ¿cuánto crees que llega a valer Tesla durante la administración de Trump? ¿Crees que llega a los 350? Fácil. Fácil, 350, 400, 500 sin problema. Creo que con Trump vamos a ver a Tesla en las nubes, ¿sale? Como te dije, Trump se deshacía en elogios para Elon Musk. Entonces creo que lo va a agarrar como su asesor de tecnología, su asesor para mejorar el gasto del gobierno, lo va a agarrar para todo. Le debe a Elon Musk su presidencia. Entonces creo que lo va a apoyar. A lo mejor no con la parte de subsidios para vehículos eléctricos, porque a él no le gustan los vehículos eléctricos, ¿sale? Hay que ser bien claros. Pero en todo lo demás creo que lo va a apoyar con, por ejemplo, las tarifas que mencionó, por ejemplo, apoyos, por ejemplo, sus empresas de Starlink, o sea, todo, Neuralink, Boeing Company, todo va a subir y todo va a repercutir en Tesla y en Elon Musk. Creo que le va muy bien a Elon y a Tesla en estos 4 años. 350, sin problema, me río de 350. Arriba de 500 yo la veo. Y bueno, es lo que estaba aquí. Déjenme ver si ya está. A ver, espérenme. Ok. A ver, creo que ya va a empezar. Déjenme ver, espérenme. Musiquita. ¿Pueden escuchar la música ahorita? A ver, ¿me confirman, por favor? ¿Se escucha la música? No se escucha, ok. ¿Y ahora? ¿Se escucha ahorita ya la música? Como saxofón. Sí, ok. Ya está. Entonces voy a quitar ahorita la música para que no me vayan a tumbar el video. Pero ya estamos en la lista. Entonces vamos a subir el volumen. Pues ya está. Entonces, bueno, rápidamente en lo que empieza. Ganó Donald Trump, puso una paliza a Kamala Harris. Listo. Sentimiento del mercado, obviamente, TMTG, DJT, el SPY, Superman Computer, Tesla, Nvidia, Palantir, todas las que les dije. Por ejemplo, aquí AMC está en lugar número 59, subió 138 lugares, supongo que es bueno. GME está en lugar número... ¿Cómo que no está? No está GME. Okay, entonces, no están hablando de GME en Reddit, al parecer. Stock Tweets. Pues no, ni AMC ni GME están. No, ok. Dow Jones subió 1500 puntos, como les dije, otra vez, otro récord máximo histórico. El mejor día desde 2022 con la elección de Trump. ¿Saben? Entonces ahí está. Dow Jones la rompe, igual que el SPY, igual que las Qs. Eso estaba súper verde a mediodía, ahorita se pintó de rojo. Es lo que se llama tomar ganancias, ¿sale? Hubo muchos máximos, entonces la gente empezó a tomar ganancias, entonces nada que preocupe. El mercado de reverso, esto ya es como ver a un muerto, ¿no? Que están golpeando en el piso, ya, déjalo, ya murió. 237 millones ahorita y subió a 270. El mercado del cripto, pues vean aquí pinche verde, sale unas buenas, Gold, Ray, en la hora, si vamos al día, vean, 54%, 34%, 38%. Pues hay varios que están subiendo, Dodge, el 18%. Pues ahí están, ¿sale? Verde como pino de Navidad, les dije. Bueno, esto ya lo hemos visto, ¿no? Esto es bien. Estas son viejas. Déjame hacerlo porque no sé por qué siguen aquí. Ok. Aquí está el comunicado de prensa. Vamos a seguir viendo. Y aquí en la parte del reporte. Vamos a compararlo, ¿sale? Este es el reporte, el nuevo. Este es el reporte. No. Este es el reporte pasado. A ver. Espérenme. Ok. Entonces, si comparamos, por ejemplo, con el reporte pasado, aquí vemos que en la parte de admisión subimos a 644 millones contra 564 que tuvimos. La parte de comida y bebida llegó de 490. Y el pasado fue de 367. ¿Ok? Y bueno, aquí en otros ingresos, 114, 499 total. Un revenue de 1,348 contra 1,030 pasados. Entonces, bien. Vamos a ver en la parte de costos. Aquí hubo también un cambio. En la pasada fueron 272 millones de costos por exhibición. Y aquí fueron 381. Ya empezó.
2024 earnings webcast.
¿Pueden
At this
escuchar?
time, all participants are in a listen-only mode. A question and answer session will follow the presentation. If anyone should require operator assistance during the conference, please press star 0 on your telephone keypad. Please note this conference is being recorded. I'll now turn the call over to John Merriweather, Vice President, Capital Markets and Investor Relations. Thank you. You may begin.
Thank you, and good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to AMC's third quarter 2024 earnings webcast. With me this afternoon is Adam Aron, our Chairman and CEO, and Sean Goodman, our Chief Financial Officer. Before I turn the webcast over to Adam, let me remind everyone that some of the comments made by management during this webcast may contain forward-looking statements that are based on management's current expectations. Numerous risks, uncertainties, and other factors may cause actual results to differ materially from those that might be expressed today. Many of these risks and uncertainties are discussed in our most recent public filings, including our most recently filed 10-Q and 10-K. Several of the factors that will determine the company's future results are beyond the ability of the company to control or predict. In light of the uncertainties inherent in any forward-looking statements, listeners are cautioned against relying on these statements. The company undertakes no obligation to revise or update any forward-looking statements, whether as a result of new information or future events. On this webcast, we may refer to non-GAAP financial measures, such as adjusted EBITDA, constant currency, contribution margin, among others. For a full reconciliation of our non-GAAP measures to GAAP results, please see our earnings release posted in the Investor Relations section of our website earlier this afternoon. After our prepared remarks, there will be a question and answer session. This afternoon's webcast is being recorded, and a replay will be available in the Investor Relations section of our website at amctheaters.com later today. With that, I'll turn the call over to Adam.
Thank you, John. Good afternoon, and thank you to everyone for joining us today.
Superamos EPS y revenue y esta pinche bajada.
What a difference a quarter makes. As most of you know all too well, the industry-wide box office late last year and for several months at the start of this year was severely affected by the prolonged Hollywood strikes of 2023. Even so, when we looked ahead, knowing the movie titles that were scheduled for release, we saw better times ahead. So, earlier this year, we started saying that we all would finally get to enjoy a surge in moviegoing in the second half of 2024, and that is exactly what happened. In the third quarter of 2024, the domestic industry box office set a third quarter post-pandemic high of $2.7 billion, up 37% from the second quarter of 2024. It slightly exceeded last year's Barbenheimer-dominated third quarter, and it came within 4% of the pre-pandemic domestic box office of Q3 of 2019. The box office's return to life became evident on June 14th of this year with the release of Disney Pixar's record-breaking Inside Out 2, now the highest-grossing animated film of all time, and thus far the top-grossing movie of 2024, and the fourth highest-grossing movie since 2019. The third quarter followed Inside Out 2's lead-in, fueled by blockbusters like Disney's Deadpool and Wolverine, Universal's Despicable Me 4 and Twisters, and Warner Brothers' Beetlejuice, among many other movie titles from a multitude of studios and distributors. To illustrate the magnitude of the box office improvement since June 14th of this year, let's compare the first 5.5 months of 2024 to the next 3.5 months. On a per-day basis, the domestic industry-wide box office was 82% stronger between mid-June and end September than it was in 2024 prior to June 14. And that strengthened industry-wide box office translated to strong performance by AMC Entertainment in the third quarter of 2024. Solidifying our financial metrics, our net loss in the third quarter of 2024 was narrowed by fully 37% compared to the loss in the second quarter of 2024. What's more, in this third quarter, AMC's total revenues were 31% stronger than our revenues of Q2 2024. During the third quarter of 2024, we are proud that AMC achieved a new record for our third quarter admissions revenue per patron, and we're even happy here to report that we set an all-time record for any quarter ever for our food and beverage revenues per patron. AMC's adjusted EBITDA was 4 times stronger in Q3 of 2024 than that of Q2 of 2024, 4 times stronger. Indeed, AMC's adjusted EBITDA posted in the third quarter 2024 was the second best EBITDA performance of any third quarter in AMC's 104-year history, second only to last year's third quarter of 2023. It's especially encouraging that because we've worked so hard to put in place operational and financial efficiencies, that AMC realized adjusted EBITDA in this just completed third quarter that was in line with pre-pandemic Q3 of 2019, 5 years back, even though our attendance in the just completed quarter was a full 25% lower than it was in that third quarter of 2019, pre-pandemic. Of enormous importance as we look ahead for the next 2 years, looking forwards, not looking backwards, we believe that the box office will continue on its recent market rise. There's an impressive Q4 2024 movie slate about to be released into our theaters in the coming weeks, highlighted by 2 beloved blockbuster Disney storylines, Mufasa the Lion King and Moana 2. Added to the excitement is Universal's highly anticipated film Wicked, the adaptation of the 21-year-running second most successful Broadway musical ever. Some people in the know are telling me that they think Moana 2 could eclipse and outshine even the success of Inside Out 2, and early critics reviews of Wicked are stellar. Wicked is already being described as, quote, a masterpiece. Notwithstanding the success of Taylor Swift's record-breaking The Eras Tour concert movie, which was the top movie in last year's fourth quarter, as well as Beyonce's Renaissance film, both of which are our very own creations here at AMC, we anticipate that the Q4 2024 domestic box office
Creemos que en
will
Q4,
emphatically surpass last year's
creemos que
Q4
Q4 va a mejorar el
results.
Q4 pasado.
And that's just the beginning.
Y eso solo es el principio.
It is AMC's belief that the
Creemos en AMC
2025 domestic industry box office
que en 2025
should easily surpass that of 2024.
vamos a mejorar el
With
2024.
bankable titles hitting our theaters next year, such as Paramount's Mission Impossible 8,
Vienen películas como
Universal's
Misión
Jurassic
Imposible,
World 4,
Jurassic World 4,
and Disney's Captain America, Snow White, The New Thunderbolts, and of course Avatar 3
de nuevo
as
Capitán América,
just some
Avatar.
of the big movies coming next year.
Vienen muchas películas muy buenas en el
And
año.
as for 2026,
Y 2026,
2026 can make 2025 look small.
y va a hacer que
We
2025
currently
se vea
believe that
pequeño.
the domestic box office will be bigger still
Va a ser aún más grande.
2 years out. Movie theater ticket sales should continue to build, led by some truly blockbuster releases,
Y vienen muchas películas muy
including the
buenas.
next chapters of The Avengers,
Sí,
Star
como
Wars,
las nuevas de Avengers,
Batman,
Star Wars,
Super Mario
Batman,
Brothers, and Toy Story
Toy
franchises
Story.
lighting up our huge
Películas
silver
buenísimas.
screens at AMC in the United States, Odeon in Europe,
De AMC y
and
de
AMC
Odeon.
Cinemas in the Middle East. The buzz and excitement surrounding theatrically released movies over the next 2 years is nothing less than palpable. We believe that as the industry's largest player, and an increasingly efficient one at that, AMC is well poised to benefit
Creemos que estamos muy
from that highly
posicionados
likely increase in moviegoing.
para ver y con
The
aprovechar
other
el incremento
accomplishment of vital
de la gente
importance by
y los
AMC in the
las
third
que
quarter
acabamos
of
de mencionar.
2024 was our continuing to successfully strengthen our balance sheet.
En 2024
As
seguimos
you know,
mejorando la hoja de balance.
in the quarter, we announced that we extended up to $2.4 billion of our long-term debt
En el
maturities
cuarto
from
anunciaron
2026
la reestructura de la
to
deuda de 2.4 millones
2029
que dije hace
to
rato a
2030.
2029, 2030
That
ya
is
para
a big
2026.
step forward for AMC. So, too, is that in 2024 year to date, we paid down some $345 million of
En
debt
2024
and
pasamos
raised some $250 million
$245
gross proceeds of equity. This all translated to ending the third quarter with some $527 million of cash on hand. I've said many times that cash is
el
king
año con
and that
550
AMC
millones
must
de dólares, lo que dije
maintain
hace rato,
ample cash reserves.
en efectivo o equivalentes.
Similarly, paying close attention to our balance sheet has been a mandatory priority
Un ojo a la
at
hoja
AMC
a la hoja de
Entertainment.
balance.
These are among the major reasons why AMC has survived these past 4.5
Estas son las
years
principales razones
at a
por las cuales
time by
AMC ha
contrast
sobrevivido
when so many of our competitors
cuando mucha
failed.
competencia quebró, como TJ
As we
Fridays o
move
Cineworld.
forward, we will continue to take actions as needed
Vamos
to keep our cash reserves robust.
a seguir manteniendo
And to
nuestras
lessen
reservas de
our
efectivo
debt.
robustas.
Before I turn the call over to Sean,
Antes de que le
I've
pase
been
la llamada a
asked
Sean,
by
que es
many
el
of our
CFO,
retail
el de
shareholders
finanzas,
to give you an update on our AMC Perfectly Popcorn home offerings. So here goes.
ustedes, palomitas.
We could not be more pleased with the response both from retailers and by consumers to our ready-to-eat and microwave lines of popcorn.
Están orgullosos de su
As
línea de
you'll
palomitas.
recall, it was launched exclusively at Walmart in
Sí, se lanzó
2023
únicamente en Walmart,
on Walmart.com
en
and at
Walmart.com,
more than 2,500 Walmart stores for our ready-to-eat popcorn
en más de
and at
500
500
tiendas
Walmart stores for our microwave corn.
para las palomitas.
In 2024, this year,
Este
we
año
successfully added Kroger, Publix, Meijer,
agregamos
and
Kroger,
Amazon.com online, bringing our store
otras
count
tiendas en
now
línea.
to well more than 6,000 locations
Ahora se venden más de
selling
6,000
AMC Perfectly
ubicaciones.
Popcorn. For 2025,
¿El año que entra?
Walmart and Kroger have advised us that they are adding our microwave line in up to 4,000 or more
Van a agregar
of their
4,000 tiendas
stores
más Kroger y
on
Walmart,
top of where it was carried
en las
previously,
cuales van a vender
We
productos
also
de
added
palomitas de AMC.
Hy-Vee.
¡Wow!
and Associated
bien.
Wholesale Grocers,
Súper, súper bien.
which supplies several dozen regional and smaller grocery chains. As a result, we would expect to see AMC Perfectly Popcorn on the shelves of as many as 10,000 or more retail
Esperamos ver
locations
palomitas de AMC en más
by
de
early or
10,000
mid-year
puntos.
2025. That's about
Empezamos
4
con
times
2,000
where it was
hace un año y medio.
in
Con 2,000.
mid-2023.
Súper bien.
Our distribution footprint is expanding so rapidly because sales of our home cup popcorn are brisk. And it is AMC Perfectly Popcorn that is actually driving the category growth. Successfully launching a new packaged goods food product for the home is not at all an easy task. Most people who try fail. And as I
Llegar
just
una línea de
said,
palomitas no es fácil.
at
Muchos lo
AMC,
han
we
intentado
could
y han
not be
fallado.
more pleased about where we are only 18 months after initial product launch.
Estoy feliz de
With
anunciar
that,
que no estamos después
I'll
de
now
18
turn the
meses.
call over to Sean Goodman, our Executive VP
Así que
and
Sean,
Chief Financial
el CFO.
Officer, to take you through the third quarter in more detail. And then I'll return afterwards for a very important update on our plans for a growth trajectory ahead. Sean?
How about
Thank
Sean?
you, Adam, and thanks to everyone for joining us this afternoon. As Adam noted, the North American box office experienced a very strong recovery as we moved into the second half of this year. While the box office in North America
Mira, la
exceeded
parte
the
de
prior
Sean
year's
me la voy a
third
explicar porque
quarter,
ese fue muy aburrido. Y puras
AMC's
finanzas.
consolidated
Ya,
attendance
los
was
números que
approximately
ya los vimos.
12% below the same period last year.
Entonces vamos a
There were two factors driving this result. First,
seguir con el
the
chat.
film
En
slate
lo
did
que
not resonate
regresa
as
Adam Arón
well in
para
Europe
preguntas y respuestas,
as
que es la
in
parte
North
que me interesa.
America. This was
Entonces,
particularly
antes de
for
continuar,
titles such as
déjenme-
Deadpool and Wolverine, Twisters,
Ahí voy.
and Beetlejuice. The result is that the overall theater industry
Está hablando ahorita de
in the
películas
European
que
markets
hubo.
in which we operate experienced an attendance decline of approximately 16% in Q3 24 when compared to the same quarter last year, when titles such as Oppenheimer and Barbie outperformed in the European markets.
A ver,
Second, in our domestic business, the film slate in Q3
Admisión
2024
fue
skewed in
744.2,
attendance
¿sale?
away
Comparado
from the
con
major urban centers
564.4
such as
del
New
cuarto
York and Los
pasado.
Angeles, where
La parte de
AMC
comida y
has
bebida
our
llegó de
largest presence.
490.4
This was particularly evident with titles
comparado
such
con
as
los
Twisters,
367
Despicable
del
Me,
cuarto
and
pasado.
Beetlejuice,
Y en
compared
la
to the
parte
prior year,
de otros,
when again
llegó de
Oppenheimer and Barbie
114.2
attendance skewed very
comparado
much
con
in
los
favor
99.1
of
del año pasado.
AMC's urban geographic footprint.
Entonces,
As a result, our overall North American market share declined by approximately 60 basis points. This
La
is
taquilla-
related to the interplay between the film slate and our geographic mix.
un segundo.
During the third quarter,
Vamos a ver.
we welcomed 65 million moviegoers to our theaters
El costo de
worldwide.
exhibición llegó de
This represents a sequential
381.4
revenue increase of
comparado con
approximately 31%
272.3 del año
compared to the
pasado. Digo,
Hollywood
del
strike
cuarto pasado,
impact in
perdón.
the second quarter of
El costo de la
2024,
comida y
and
bebida llegó
resulted
de
in an EBITDA of more than
89.7
4 times
comparado
that
con
of Q2 of
69.9
2024.
del trimestral pasado.
A key to our post-pandemic
operativos llegó
recovery
de-
trajectory over the last few years
Si me preguntan qué
has
estoy
been
haciendo,
the success of our
estoy
profit
llenando mi hojita. ¿Saben qué es esta
optimization
hojita?
initiatives,
¿Sale?
including elevating the guest experience, optimizing
Esta
the
hojita es la
theater
que lleno
fleet,
cada trimestral. ¿Sale?
tightly
Entonces
managing
vamos a
expenses,
llenar aquí si quieren juntos.
and improving
Gastos
operating
operativos,
efficiency. These initiatives
llegó de
allowed us to achieve adjusted EBITDA in Q3 of
454.6 comparado con
2024
389.5
that was in line
del
with pre-pandemic Q3 of
trimestre pasado.
2019.
En la parte de renta llegó de
Despite selling
16.4. Ojo aquí,
25% or
Ojo aquí.
22 million
Llegó de
US tickets.
216.4
We
comparado
achieved
con
this notable
218.4. O sea,
result
llegó
due to
menos
record
de
revenue
renta
per patron
que el
of
trimestral pasado.
$20.72.
Eso es muy bueno. Nos dice que
Up
está
37.1%
cerrando cines, ¿vale? Que
from
pagan mucho de renta. Eso es
2019.
muy, muy bueno.
And contribution
La
margin
parte
per patron
de
of
adquisiciones merch llegó de .1, que es como que lo
up
obligatorio.
41%
Otros costos
from pre-pandemic 2019.
llegó de
And by the way,
54
compared to Q3
comparado
of
con 49 del
2023,
trimestre pasado.
both revenue per
Depreciación y
patron and
cotización
contribution
llegó de
margin per patron
80.8,
increased
llegó,
by
comparado
approximately
con
8%.
78.8 del trimestre
Recall that
pasado.
we define
Y costos
contribution margin
totales
per patron as total revenue, less film
llegó
exhibition
de
costs,
total
and less food and beverage costs divided by the
llegó de
number of
1,000.
guests. This measure is
¿Por qué no
indicative
una pinche
of
suma?
the incremental profit generated
Aquí
per
está.
additional guest at our theaters.
Llegó de
It is worth
1,277.
noting this
Comparado
quarter
con
that our food and
1,078, o sea,
beverage
llegó
initiatives
200
led
millones
to
más.
all-time record
Ojo aquí,
achievements
llegó
in
200
food and
millones
beverage
más
revenue per
de
patron
costos,
during the
pero
quarter.
llegó
Consolidated food and beverage
318
per
millones
patron
más de
hit a
ingresos.
high of
Entonces es un super negocio,
$7.53,
Súper
an
bien.
increase
Deuda.
of
Vamos a ver la parte de deuda.
14.8% compared to Q3 of
Aquí
2023,
la parte de
and an increase
deuda.
of 56.3% compared to Q3 of 2019.
Okay.
Both the domestic and the international business achieved
Deuda.
all-time records for food and beverage per patron.
Teníamos
In our domestic market, food and beverage revenue per patron was $8.49,
de deuda y teníamos
14.2% ahead of Q3 of
4.375. Y el año
2023,
pasado, en Q4, tenemos
58.8%
4.570. Realmente sí
ahead of
estamos
Q3
bajando
of
muchísimo
2019.
la deuda.
And in our international business, food and beverage revenue per patron was $5.07, 12% ahead of Q3 of 2023, and 41.5% of Q3 ahead of Q3 of 2019.
Intereses por préstamo.
Our results for the quarter reflect the continued success of our market-leading food and beverage offerings, including collectible movie-themed items, movie-themed cocktails, and menu upgrades, world-class marketing, a leading position in immersive premium large format auditoriums, and revenue diversification initiatives such as retail popcorn. All of this underscores our belief that we can achieve pre-pandemic levels of EBITDA even while the box office is not quite back to 2019 levels.
Bien. El equity
Now let's
and
move on
loss.
to the balance sheet. The third quarter began with a substantive strengthening of our balance sheet. As previously announced at the beginning of the third quarter, in a collaborative agreement with both our second lien and first lien term loan lenders, we extended the maturity date of approximately $2.4 billion of debt from 2026 to 2029 and 2030. And in addition, since our last webcast, we've taken significant further actions to reduce debt and extend maturities. Specifically, one, we extended the maturity of $31 million of term loans from 2026 to 2029. And as of September 30th, all $1.9 billion of term loans that were due in 2026 are now due in 2029. Two, we reduced our second lien debt due in 2026 by approximately $128 million through buybacks and exchanges of debt.
Y por tanto el EPS pues llegó de 6.
We reduced our senior subordinated notes due in 2025
ajustado,
by
esperaban 8.
approximately $28 million
Fue un bit,
through buybacks or exchanges of
y
debt
aquí
for
pueden ver,
equity.
bueno, aquí está la gráfica.
And
Ya
four,
actualizamos,
we
me gustan los
reduced our
números,
senior
me gustan mucho los
subordinated
números,
notes due in
me gustaron mucho.
2026 by approximately $10 million
Bueno, sigue bajando.
through exchanges of debt
Pero
for equity.
o sea, realmente
In addition,
imaginen que estamos
total,
hablando
since our
de que
Q2
llegó un
earnings
EPS
webcast,
mejor de lo esperado.
we were able to
Llegó un
reduce our
EBITDA
debt
positivo,
through these
mejor de lo
transactions
esperado.
by
Llegó el
approximately
revenue mejor de lo esperado.
$165 million
Estamos
using
recortando
a combination
gastos,
of
¿sale?
cash and
Estamos,
approximately 14.2
déjame ver la parte de
million common
pantallas.
stock.
Quiero ver cuántas pantallas
Bringing
tenemos.
the
Pues estamos
total
cerrando
reduction
cines
in
y abriendo nuevos
principal,
cines
debt,
que dan más
and
dinero.
finance
Y aún
leases
así nos bajan el
to
5% en After Hours. Es una
$349
broma.
million
Es una
thus
broma.
far in
La verdad es que
2024
no me importa lo que quieran hacer.
And since the beginning of
Se ven ridículos,
2022,
¿sale? O sea, hasta dan
we've
cringe.
lowered the principal
Realmente aquí
value of
está.
our
Miren,
debt and finance leases by approximately
así
$1
de Estados
billion,
Unidos,
and we've repaid $277.3 million of deferred leases.
de 5,000
All this for a
en total.
total debt and deferred rent reduction of $1.31 billion. For now, our capital allocation priorities remain:
5,087, pues.
1, liquidity;
Pantallas,
2,
quiero ver,
reducing financial leverage and strengthening the balance sheet;
9,800.
3,
¿Sale?
investing in our existing business; and 4, investing in attractive, high-return growth initiatives. Before handing the webcast back over to Adam, a couple of quick additional points worth noting.
746.
Q3 net cash used in operating activities was $31.5 million, and we ended the quarter with cash of $527.4 million, excluding restricted cash, which was $49.7 million. Based on our box office forecast, we would expect that net cash provided by operating activities to be positive in the fourth quarter.
Muy bien, muy bien.
CapEx, net of landlord contributions, was $50 million, and we continue to expect net capex in 2024 to be in the range of $175 to $225 million. The deferred rent balance at the end of Q3 was approximately $38 million. We plan to reduce this balance by another $2 million during the fourth quarter. And from a theater portfolio perspective, during the quarter, we closed 11 underperforming locations and we opened one new location. This will bring the total number of locations closed since 2020 to 187, and the total new locations opened to 61, for a net reduction of 126 locations, or approximately 13% of our locations at December 31, 2019. And we continue to see that the 61 new locations very significantly outperform the 187 closed locations. So, in summary, the box office recovery has resumed, and our profit enhancement initiatives that are yielding record results, plus the actions that we continue to take to strengthen the balance sheet, position us very well to capitalize on what we expect will be an increasingly strong box office through the remainder of 2024 and 2025 and beyond. And with that, I'll now hand the webcast back over to Adam.
Thank you, Sean. At AMC, our hard work, imaginative thinking, and bold actions over the past few years have allowed us to successfully manage through challenging times when others in our industry have faltered. But by definition, to survive COVID and then the 2023 Hollywood strikes, we've necessarily been on our heels much of the time and playing on the defensive. Yes, we've repeatedly taken smart and decisive action to protect the business and position our company for success as the industry recovers. But now, finally now, we can see that real success is at hand and not all that far ahead of us. With an expected multi-year rising theatrical box office in our near-term future, and with significant debt maturities having been extended far out, we are finally ready to play on the offense again. With what we are calling, and will announce by press release tomorrow, AMC's Go Plan. Go. G period, O period, go on offense. AMC's Go Plan is a multi-year initiative focused on strategically reinvesting in our core business to further elevate and differentiate the moviegoing experience that we offer to AMC and Odeon guests. In the process, we will be striving to add mightily to our current adjusted EBITDA levels and to generate attractive returns for our shareholders as a result. Specifically, AMC's Go Plan calls for AMC to invest between $1.0 and $1.5 billion over the coming 4 to 7 years back into our theaters and into the AMC Odeon moviegoing experience. Coming at a time of a likely theatrical box office resurgence, we are hopeful that in so doing, investing back in our core business, we can turbocharge our financial results in the quarters and years ahead. Of course, it goes without saying that we will implement AMC's Go Plan only as we successfully manage our debt reserves, our debt levels, our liquidity, our cash reserves, and our leverage. With AMC's Go Plan, we will be providing our guests with an ever greater selection of premium experiences, immersive sight and sound enhancements, more comfortable seating, and upgraded theaters, as well as other initiatives, including upgrading our IT systems and considering how the smart use of AI can improve AMC's bottom line. Some of the components of AMC's Go Plan are already being implemented now, and others will be implemented over time, but only as and when our financial resources prudently allow. So let's talk some more about just some of the key components of AMC's Go plan. Here are three in ascending order of importance. First, laser projection. As you know, we previously announced an agreement with Syneonic to launch our first major broad-scale projector upgrade since the transition to digital film decades ago by now installing darker laser projectors broadly throughout AMC auditoriums. This project is currently well underway, and as we sit here right now today, we currently have some 2,137 screens in the United States now equipped with and marketed as laser at AMC. No surprise, guests are reacting extremely positively to the brighter images, more vivid colors, and consistently sharp image quality associated with laser projection. Dimming and lamp degradation are a thing of the past in these auditoriums. And this is a range of greening of AMC as well, which also plays well with consumers, because laser projection is considerably more environmentally friendly than its predecessor projection technologies. In the time frame of AMC's Go plan, it would be our hope to at least double and maybe even triple our current number of laser at AMC equipped auditoriums. Second in the plan is theater renovation and upgrading seating efforts. For over a decade, AMC has led the way in this industry in introducing a bit of luxury for the masses through the upgrades and renovations at our theaters. Our signature recliner seats have often driven instant and dramatic financial returns. AMC's Go plan will allow us to continue to invest in some of our best and most productive theaters where, in our view, renovation would cause significant increases in their theater-level EBITDA and or prevent erosion in our operating cash flows when competitors try to claim the moviegoers who are currently ours. In recent years, as Sean just mentioned, we have not been shy, to the contrary, been quite aggressive, in opening shiny new theaters in superb locations geographically and in closing tired older theaters where it would be unwise for us to reinvest. That strategy of pruning our fleet by eliminating weak theaters and adding profitable new ones will continue. And some of that will be funded by AMC's Go plan. But AMC's Go plan also will allow us to make important, what we think of as almost sure bet investments in some of our absolute best and most productive theaters, where in our view renovation would cause significant improvements to our already quite solid financial results. The caveat, of course, in saying it's an almost sure bet is that nothing in life is certain, but there is opportunity in life that is often worth grabbing. Right now, for example, we've been putting in new, wider, and much more comfortable plus rocker seats with a feel of leather at 3 theaters which routinely rank among the 5 highest grossing AMC theaters in the entire United States currently. We started at our flagship theater, Burbank 16, in Los Angeles, which received this major seating upgrade last year. Our guest scores went up markedly. Based on that success, since Labor Day of this year, we're in the process now of doing so at our 2 most successful New York City theaters in Manhattan, at AMC Lincoln Square 13 and at AMC Empire 25. Over 4,000 aged and tired fabric chairs in Manhattan are being replaced with plush deluxe rockers, offering guests between 12% and 23% wider seats. These significantly upgraded seats are visually stunning and physically much more comfortable. As part of the seating renovation at Lincoln Square, Our new seats in most auditoriums also will feature 10 inches of additional legroom from the current 38 inches instead to 48 inches of legroom between rows in 8 of our 13 Lincoln Square auditoriums. That will mean that AMC will offer legroom of 4 feet for your 2 legs. How's that for a slogan? Making for a much more enjoyable viewing experience, and we believe that will open the door to even higher profitability at that already very successful theater for AMC. The upgrade at Lincoln Square will be completed this month before Thanksgiving. We expect to complete much of the Empire 25 seating upgrades before the rush of the holiday movies around Christmas, with the entire renovation of Empire 25 being finished during Q1 of 2025. Beyond just these 3 theaters, we have a prioritized long list of high-performing AMC theaters that could receive significant seating and other upgrades as part of AMC's growth plan, which in our view will make those theaters even more successful, even more profitable. As a third and extremely important element to AMC's Go plan, premium large formats, or PLFs, and extra large formats, or XLF screens. AMC already benefits from having the most premium large format screens of any movie theater chain in the world. In the United States, for example, AMC single-handedly represents just under half of all of IMAX's U.S. screens, and 100% of all of Dolby Cinema branded U.S. screens. We also have 31 prime and AMC screens in the U.S. That's our house brand here domestically. Some 423 PLF screens in total, including IMAX, Dolby Cinema, and our 82 iSense. Those are our house brand PLFs in Europe. We now have some 566 PLF screens globally. No one else comes close. From our patronage data, we know with certainty that moviegoers increasingly seek out our premium large format screens. On average, our PLF screens in the U.S., for example, do about quadruple the revenues of our non-PLF houses. You all know the saying, fish where the fish are. Moviegoers clearly want PLFs, and through AMC's Go plan, we have every expectation of improving the quality and increasing the number of our PLF auditoriums. Under the auspices of AMC's Go plan, we would expect to continue to increase the number of our IMAX auditoriums, but more importantly, we intend to upgrade many to IMAX's latest technology. Not so long ago, only 42 of our 223 IMAX theaters offered the superb IMAX with laser product, including laser projection and its enhanced 12-channel sound system, along with significant recliner or plush rocker seating upgrades. We are optimistic that AMC's Go plan will enable us going forward to have IMAX with laser installed in more than 2/3 of our IMAX deployments. We are also proud of our success, our clear success, in establishing the Dolby Cinema PLF brand in the United States. As a result of AMC's Go plan, we would expect to increase the number of our Dolby Cinema locations in the U.S. by 25%, bringing our total globally up to about 214. As envisioned in AMC's Go plan, we further expect to more than triple the number of our Prime and AMC auditoriums, Prime being our U.S. house brand PLFs, from the current 31 to what we hope will get up to about 100. We indeed hope to have 100 of these wonderful offerings in which no royalty has to be paid to a third party, I might add, installed in our theaters over the next several years. Beyond our so-called PLFs, also in another press release that will be issued tomorrow, we will unveil a new auditorium product that I don't think any of you have heard about yet, called XL at AMC. XL stands for extra large screens, and will be yet another AMC innovation and one of the many premium experiences that AMC will offer to our guests. It is modeled after something that we've been testing and piloting in Europe over the last year, where over the past 12 months, we've quietly but successfully introduced some 68 XL screens across Europe. XL, or XL at AMC, lets us brand and leverage other offerings currently in place or envisioned for Odeon and for AMC. For example, here in the United States, we already have extra large screens in place at almost all of our theaters presently, but they've never been marketed as such. Now, we're just not living in the walls that we have large screens. We're combining some of these larger screens with a new laser projection that has been or will be deployed in our theaters. Specifically, the brand standards for XL at AMC here in the United States will include screens that are sized only 40 feet or wider. What's more, in our new XL product, we will especially offer another upgrade in immersive sight and sound, the latest 4K laser projection technology. Thanks to AMC's Go Plan, we anticipate rolling out approximately 50 to 100 XL and AMC screens in the United States within calendar year 2025, with the potential to grow the total number of XL and AMC screens in the United States to between 200 and 250 screens over time, in addition to our XL screen count in Europe. With the introduction of AMC XL, we will specifically identify the largest screen or screens in a theater, equip them with the best in 4K laser projection, and through XL and AMC branding, arm our guests with the knowledge to select their auditorium of choice when reserving their seats. In Europe, we are currently charging an extra euro or an extra pound for our XL screens. We've not yet decided whether it's smarter to charge an extra dollar here in the United States, or instead to keep our current pricing as is, and instead generate our financial returns from the added patronage that will come our way, thanks to offering a clearly superior and guest-pleasing consumer offering. Take all this together, adding IMAX screens, upgrading our current IMAX screens to IMAX with laser, increasing the count of Dolby Cinema and Prime screens, and introducing XL at AMC, and introducing XL in Europe. AMC's Go Plan features as its hallmark a significant commitment to building upon AMC's now massive competitive lead in PLF moviegoing. It's our view that these investments in premium auditoriums are an ambitious and an aggressive step, and indeed going on offense. They have the likelihood of generating attractive shareholder returns for our much deserving retail shareholder base and those institutional investors who care to join them. That's so given their popularity of premium screens, not only with moviegoers, but also with movie studios, who tell us constantly that they recognize and seek out the unparalleled audience experiences and creative opportunities that AMC offers through our premium screens at AMC theaters. Two final thoughts about AMC's Go Plan. First, It does not pertain exclusively to our domestic theaters. Our Odeon team in Europe is excited about the opportunity to roll out internationally as well, where industry PLF screen density is lower than that of the United States, and a differentiated experience, as evidenced in our PLFs, resonates with consumers extremely well. Similarly, in terms of theater renovation in Europe and the introduction of new theaters into our fleet, we've already identified opportunities to add theaters or to develop a meaningful number of additional Lux cinemas, especially in the United Kingdom. Our Lux theaters heretofore introduced in Europe have been quite a successful innovation by AMC. These theaters, as you know, boast of upgraded amenities, including reclining seats, premium auditoriums, handsome theater lobbies, and enhanced bars and concession areas. Audiences have been keen on our Lux cinema experience in Europe, and happily for us, theater landlords, eager to drive footfall to their developments, often have been quite willing to provide a substantial portion of the required capital investment, resulting in healthy financial returns for AMC. The second thing that I want to stress about our Go plan is that we will carefully marry our going on offense plan with respect to added capital investments with our financial ability to do so. We can either go fast or go slow. We said 4 years to 7 years, but we will not get ahead of our skis. As we see it today, substantially heightened CapEx levels will only occur with rising EBITDA or a sense within our shareholder base that it is wise to increase the pace of equity raising, not just to maintain our cash reserves or manage our debt load, but also for the purpose of increased capital expenditures specifically aimed at accelerating our growth. Thank you for listening today. Life's not all rosy. We had a good quarter, but we still have challenges to navigate. Most obviously, adjusted EBITDA in calendar year 2024 is expected to be but a fraction of where it was in 2019 pre-pandemic, and we are well aware that it is not yet where we will need to get it to be. But even so, the quick synopsis of this goal is fourfold. One, the third quarter was a success at AMC. Two, we have been smartly managing our cash levels and are determined to keep our cash reserves robust, just at the same time as we've been actively addressing the amount and timing of our debt obligations. Three, a rising box office fills us with optimism for the remainder of 2024, 2025, and 2026. And four, we have a plan and are committed to going on offense again. Looked at as a whole, assuming we continue to do all the right things in managing this company, in making sure that our liquidity and leverage is well managed, that our business is operating efficiently, and that we produce rising EBITDA in the years ahead, we could not be more confident about the future for AMC. Sean, that concludes my remarks. Let's open up the webcast for questions both from our retail shareholders and from our equity research analysts.
Bueno, usted con esa parte del plan regresivo me dio un
So we
poquito
have
de miedo, la verdad, con la
questions
parte de
from
dilución.
the retail shareholders, and I'll ask just a few of those, and then we'll pause and see if there's any questions from the equity research analysts. Starting with questions from our retail shareholders, the first one relates to the loyalty programs, our AMC loyalty programs. The question is really, are there plans in place to enhance or change these loyalty programs at AMC in the future?
I am actually very glad you asked that question because, as you know, I'm a marketing guy by training, and I'm so proud of what AMC has done in the area of loyalty. We have three major programs that have massive enrollments And each of the three is vital to our success. A couple of years ago, we launched something called AMC Investor Connect.
Investor Connect.
It was a free program for our retail shareholders to join that would get them frequent benefits at AMC, including the occasional free this and free that. Normally they're buying a movie ticket when they're there, which is a good thing too, right? We have 1.4 million members of that program. We're communicating to them almost on a monthly basis. We're coming out with significant offers to them 4 to 6 times a year. This is a group that has been very loyal to AMC, and in fact, we track their patronage because they also were enrolled in AMC Stubs, our frequent moviegoer program, so we could see what movie tickets they were buying. And our AMC Investor Connect population, 1.4 million strong, is about twice as loyal to AMC as our regular AMC Insider Stubs members, and like infinitely more loyal to AMC than the great population as a whole who are not in our loyalty program. Then that's program one. Program two is AMC Stubs, which is our play for points, a movie theater equivalent of a frequent flyer program. Over the years, we've enrolled, I think it's 34 million households, U.S. households, in AMC Stubs. It was only 2.5 million households when I joined the company 9 years ago. This has been a massive area of increase for AMC. Back when I joined AMC, about 19% of our guests were playing for points through AMC Stubs. In the third quarter, and in fact for the latest 12 months ending September 30, 48% of our guest tickets are purchased by members of the AMC Stubs program. And it's not just that we've got a lot of consumers intrigued with playing our game. It's so important for us because remember, we know the movie ticket buying habits of the members of our AMC Stubs program. So if you went to see Mission Impossible 7 last year, guess who's going to get a lot of marketing to see Mission Impossible 8 in 2025? If you show up as a Stubs member to see Wicked 2 weeks from now, guess who's going to get a reminder next Thanksgiving when Wicked Part 2 comes out? We actively market through email, push notification, and text literally billions of times a year to the members of our Stubs program. It's an immensely important and successful program for us. And then the third program, which is actually a subset of AMC Stubs, is AMC Stubs A-List, our subscription program, where under current rules, for somewhere between $20 and $25 a month, you get to see up to 3 movies a week. You may recall the pandemic just gutted AMC A-List. We had to pause the program for a couple of years because there's no point in having a subscription program when movie theaters are closed for months on end, or when there are very few movie titles coming out. Fortunately, since we reopened our theaters and restarted AMC Stubs, we've seen a dramatic increase in the number of members. And I believe the count that I last saw was up about 2/3 in terms of AMC List active paying current members today, as contrasted with the numbers we started with coming out of the pandemic pause. The only other reason I'm just so excited to talk about Stubs and A-List endlessly is that I don't want to announce it today, I don't want to announce it tomorrow, I don't want to announce the other things, but I can tease this audience to tell you we have some significant enhancements coming, both to the Stubs program and the A-List program in 2025. We've been working on this for almost a year. We did a lot of market research in 2024. We test marketed some of these things in a few cities. We're confident they're going to work. We're confident they're going to drive significant improvements to our bottom line and make both the A-List and the Stubs programs all that more appealing to their members. So watch this space for sport and stubs and A-list announcements for 2025.
¿Por qué? Por lo que acaba de
That's
decir.
exciting stuff. And the next question here is about investment spend. Can you talk more about the financing and timing of investments that we plan to make in the future?
Okay.
Sure.
El gasto de inversiones.
You know, for the past several years, we've been
Sobre las fechas.
investing about $200 million a year in CapEx. What we've announced with the AMC Go plan is that we're going to invest in CapEx in our fleet of theaters somewhere between $1 billion and $1.5 billion over the next 4 to 7 years. Now, at the slowest, that's a little bit more than $200 million a year. At the fastest, it's $375 million a year. We'll decide how much we're spending in the future years only by applying the fiscal discipline that you've practiced as our CFO, and I've talked about on this call already. We've got to marry our spending with either rising EBITDA, which could fund increased spending, or alternatively, if our shareholders were to tell us that they think it's smart of us to increase capital expenditure spending, specifically with the purpose in mind of accelerating growth. So the exact timing and speed is something that we'll decide over the course of the next several years. But as we outlined on the call today, we have a lot of very specific ideas of opportunity in the company that could turbocharge our EBITDA returns.
Thanks, Adam. And Diego, let's pause with the retail investor questions and see if there are any questions from equity research analysts.
Thank you. And those on the phone to ask a question, press *1 to queue up for a question, and press *2 to remove yourself from the queue. Once again, to queue up, press *1 on your telephone keypad. Our first question comes from Jim Goss with Barrington Research. Please go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Adam, I know you are all about the creative use of your platform. I was wondering if you might talk a little about AMC's participation in the effort by IMAX, since you're its biggest partner, to exhibit the Penn State-Washington football game on live on selected IMAX screens. And sort of on a related basis, is there any likelihood you might try to initiate a similar program since you would arguably have greater available screen capacity? I assume rights issues are the primary obstacle, and the level of interest in specific games tend to be very localized. But how do you approach this obstacle? And maybe this new emphasis on the XL screens might tie into this.
Thanks for the question, Jim, and hope you're well. I spoke with Rich Gelfond, the CEO of IMAX, as recently as yesterday about their Penn State-Washington initiative. You know, we've long been in IMAX's corner. We represent, as I said, almost half of the total U.S. IMAX screens in the United States. Provided they can get a suitable window, an exclusive theatrical window, we're willing to do just about anything with IMAX. And I'm optimistic that IMAX can do some interesting things, not just related to Penn State, Washington, but other things as well. And I've got a lot of confidence in Rich to make good things happen for IMAX, which in turn makes good things happen for AMC. If he brings us to Penn State, Washington game, we play it, of course, that triggers the whole question about sports and sports rights. I've long believed that sports programming is an extremely attractive alternate programming opportunity for AMC. You'll recall that for 2 seasons, we carried NFL games. But we did so under some quirky rights from given to us by DirecTV. We couldn't ever mention the word NFL. We couldn't ever mention a team name because those were proprietary trademarks of the league and we could only carry the wrong games, which are out-of-market games. Like here in Kansas City, they only want to watch the Chiefs. Where you are in Chicago, they want to watch the Bears. Like, I'm sure the Jacksonville-Seattle game is a great game, but The games that we ought to be playing are home games, and we ought to do it in full cooperation with the NFL, not going around them. There are some things we are willing to experiment with, even in football. We've been quite intrigued about carrying nationally broadcast games, whether that's the Thursday night games or the Saturday night games or the Sunday night games or the Monday night games or the playoff games. We don't have those rights yet, but we will continue to work with those entities that can get us those rights. And when we succeed, we'll be very happy, and we'll test it, and we'll bring it out and see what happens. I think you mentioned college football. We've long thought that while the teams may have regional appeal, there are a lot of teams with a lot of regional appeal in a lot of regions. So I will hope that we'll also continue to introduce conversation with collegiate sports to see what kind of collegiate sports we can carry. Obviously, with these different collegiate teams that we're following in different cities around the country. We had good success with things like UFC and others, things that we tried a couple of summers ago. So we're going to try to bring some of those opportunities back in the system. So that's the long answer question. The short answer question is, yeah, I think there's real promise in order to content. The key is getting the rights to the correct events.
Julio, Mara se va a seguir prestando para hacer trading, sí, pero es que Mara es súper volátil y es 100% trading.
Okay, thank you. And one other one, if I might. The franchise-heavy film release slate should support some assurances of continued recovery. I was wondering, though, if you can discuss the role of the smaller films relative to norms and the impact of gaining those films and concentration of film rent splits, and also the interplay with
proyección de películas pequeñas, no grandes franquicias.
For these smaller films versus theatrical releases.
Para ver.
I'm glad you limited your follow-up to one question, because there was two questions, but like 9 questions in there. I'll just try to give you a general answer. I'll just try. No, you do it well. I'll just try to give you a general answer to the whole thing. When we do our forecasts around here for the size of the box office, we literally do it on a title-by-title basis. And in year, that film forecast is updated on a weekly basis. I mean, it's circulated on a weekly basis. It's updated by our program on a daily basis. And so we're tracking not only the blockbuster movie titles, but also the smaller and mid-sized titles. And yes, we're thrilled beyond thrilled that there are so many blockbuster franchises coming in 25 and 2026. But there are also a lot of medium and smaller sized movies coming.
Y películas grandes como las que mencionamos para 2025, 2026, pero también vienen muchas películas pequeñas.
It's like we need the blockbusters, but we also need the medium and smaller sized movies. And in our conversations with major Hollywood studios, one thing we're like most encouraged about is so many studios are trying to increase the number of movies that they release now as compared with what they were releasing a year or 2 or 3 years ago.
Los estudios están incrementando la cantidad de películas que van a liberar ahora comparada con lo que hacían hace 3 o 4 años. Obvio, les dije, después de la huelga todo el mundo quiere recuperar su dinero. Actores, las productoras, directores, todo el mundo quiere recuperar lo que se perdió por los 120 días de huelga. Por eso están haciendo más películas que antes.
Now, whether they actually can release that's a lot of movies, by the way. Whether they can actually release 38, there's no commitment. But what I'm comforted by is the fact that each and every studio that we talk to wants to issue more products. And some of that's the big, massive products, like Avatar 3 and the latest Star Wars movie and the latest Avengers movie. Like, we're happy about that. But we're also happy with the medium and smaller size movies. And
estamos felices con las películas pequeñas que también
our film rents, we don't really
hacen su cooperación, ¿no?
terms of our deals with each studio, but it's well known that the bigger the movie, often we pay a higher gross split to a major studio,
entre
which
más
means that we
grande
get
la
to keep
película,
more of
más
the
se paga
smaller
el split
and medium film box office grosses,
entre
and that's helpful
AMC y
to
la
us
casa
as well.
productora.
So, on balance, as we look at 2020, the remainder of 2024,
Dice, ¿cómo es el
all
2024?
of 25 and all of
2025,
26,
2026.
there are a lot of big blockbusters
Hay muchas
coming.
películas grandes.
We know the studios want to release more and more titles, including medium and smaller size ones, and that all
Hay
bodes
películas grandes y
very
películas
well
chicas.
for the recovery of our industry broadly, but of AMC specifically.
Pregunte por las palomitas. Ya.
All right. Well, thanks very much. I'll stop there.
Ok, siguiente.
Thank you. And we have time for one more question.
Una pregunta más,
That
última.
question comes from Alicia Reese with Wedbush Securities. Please state your question.
Hi, thanks. Thanks for taking my question, guys. Jim asked one of my questions, thankfully, but I do have a couple others. Wondering if you could just give some maybe puts and takes on the concession costs. It looks like some that was quite a bit lower domestically than it has been trending recently. Perhaps there were some one-time items, perhaps some easing of commodity costs in the domestic region. Wondering if you could give your take on the quarter and what to expect going forward on that line item.
Let me pass that one to Sean.
Sure. Thanks, Alicia. Hope you're
O
doing
sea,
well.
Sean, ¿por qué de finanzas?
With respect to the food and beverage costs, when you compare it to quarters when our attendance and revenue is lower, we do get a benefit, right, on food and beverage costs when attendance is higher. Why is that? Because you have less spoilage and less shrinkage as a percentage of the total volume of food and beverage sold. So that's one factor to take into account. The other factor to take into account is, yes, there have been price increases, particularly in commodities like cocoa. But at the same time, we have a very focused and successful procurement team that has done a lot of work in terms of looking at the mix of products, the supplies of different products, etc. And that has helped our food and beverage costs.
Bueno,
and we do get rebates, and you see some of the rebates coming through the numbers in
bueno, la parte del ratio de costo y de dulcería, costo ganancia de dulcería.
If I look out for the remainder of the year,
ratio,
which is basically Q4, right?
19, 4, 19, 6, 19, 4 y 8, 20. Es el más bajo que hemos tenido
And let me just chime in.
desde
Small numbers, but
2022.
when you go to margins and percentages, including our food and beverage numbers, are the merchandise that we sell at our concession stands.
Dice, la parte
And this has been a massive success for AMC. 3 years ago, our merchandise sales were precisely $0.
3 años ganábamos nada.
And in calendar year
Con la
2024,
parte de
it's going to be
la
about
mercancía de dulcería,
$50
como las
million.
palomeras, los vasos de refresco,
And I
etc.
think in calendar year 25, somewhere between $50 and $75 million.
Para el año que entra se espera ganar entre 50 y 75 millones de dólares de
But our
ganancia.
profit margins
De
on
ganancia.
merchandise are more like 50%, whereas our profit margins on other food and beverages are in the low 80s. So, mind you, a 50% profit margin is nothing to sneer at. We'll happily take as much of that as we can get, but that's just one more thing in your list of modeling.
And I think that's an important point, Adam, because despite that, because the merchandise and collectible concession rentals were up significantly in Q3 24 versus Q3 23, like close to 12%.
Espera mucho incremento en la parte de todo esto de la dulcería, en la mercancía,
which gives you an indication
de 25, 20,
of the success we're having in managing those costs.
That makes a lot of sense. Thanks for explaining that. And then lastly, the other revenue, obviously there's so many things in there, and with the popcorn expanding early to mid-year next year, just taking that into consideration alongside for 23 when you had Taylor Swift, that added quite a bit in there, I think, for distributing that. Just wondering if you could give us some sense of where you expect that to track on a per cap basis, maybe around $182 on a normalized basis, perhaps, once you get the full distribution of popcorn into stores.
Cuando tengan toda la distribución completa de palomitas, ¿cuánto esperan ganar?
Yeah, I just want to say I'm glad I'm not taking that question. Good luck, Sean. Go ahead.
No, but, that's absolutely right. Included other revenue is the retail popcorn sales. So you would expect, and that the retail popcorn sales have grown significantly when you look at the quarter-over-quarter, not year-over-year, right, comparison, Q3 24 versus Q3 2023. So, that impacts your revenue per patron. And I think when you look at Q4 and you look at the following year, well, what's going to happen is the retail revenue sales probably in Q3 and Q4 are going to be relatively similar, but because Q4 is likely to be higher attendance, likely to be higher box office, the impact is going to be less. Looking out to 2025, you should continue to see that revenue per patron, that other revenue per patron increase, but probably more towards the second half of 2025.
La segunda mitad de 2025.
Does increase a little bit.
Okay.
Thank you. Really appreciate that detailed answer.
Before we end you're welcome, of course. Before we end the call, I know it's late and there's like a lot of election news that people want to continue to go back and pay attention to. Let's take one last question from our retail shareholders before we end the call.
Thanks, Adam. And so the last question that I will read out here from our retail shareholders relates to the box office. And the question is really, when do we expect the industry box office to reach a steady state and return to the traditional industry growth rates?
So, I think that the answer to that question is almost the whole saga of this earnings call combined with Jim Goss's question. It's been a long time in coming. The pandemic knocked the industry box office down 80%. And it's been on a build sort of straight up since 2021. But it's been a slow build, and the pace of that growth was knocked off to the side by the Hollywood strikes of 2023. But as we look ahead, we'll all know on December 31 where this year ends up. But should be close to around $9 billion. It may be more, it may be less. Closer to 9 than to 8. As we look ahead to 2025, it's going to be a lot bigger than that. As we look at 2026, we think it's going to be a lot bigger than that. It's a nice thought to think that the industry box office in 2026 could get near to pre-pandemic levels. I don't know that it's going to go all the way up to $11.5 billion in 2026. But an important point for everybody to remember is that AMC does not need the box office to return to pre-pandemic levels
a nivel prepandemia, porque
ya subió su ganancia por visitante. Entonces, es lo que comentaba, ¿no? 25%. Because of the operational and financial efficiencies that we've achieved in this company over the past several years. Just look at this year. The attendance in Q3
la gente que fue
was 25% down.
Fue 25% menos.
The third quarter of 2019.
Que en el mismo cuarto de 2019.
And yet our EBITDA was in line.
Y aún así el EBITDA fue igual.
The pre-pandemic level of EBITDA in the third quarter. So our whatever you want to call it, our contribution per patron, our profit per patron, there are a lot of phrases you can use to describe it. But the amount of money we make from each body coming into our theaters is a lot more today than it was a few years ago. And so we don't need the box office to return to start levels at the top line.
Porque ya hemos implementado muchas eficiencias, hemos cerrado cines, etcétera, que hacen que ya no haga falta que llegue a tener la cantidad de visitantes de 2019. Puede ser mucho menos y seguimos con una EBITDA mejor.
So I'd say everybody should be very excited about 25, 26, and 27.
Todo está en 24, 25, 26, 27.
Good enough to us for us to be a quite successful company. In 25 and even more so again in 26. With that, I think we're going to end the call.
Con eso terminamos la llamada.
What a good quarter. We have an exciting plan going forward.
Tenemos un plan
We're going to put out a press release tomorrow that will give you a little bit more information.
Mañana van a dar más información sobre este plan agresivo de expansión de AMC.
That will give you a little more description about Excel at AMC, which we are quite excited about. As I said, we think we can get it up to 200 to 250 screens in the United States, in addition to the current 68 that we already have in Europe. Thank you for joining us, everybody.
En Estados Unidos a 200 o 250 pantallas.
Thank you. And that concludes today's call. All parties may disconnect. Have a good day.
Listo. Bueno, vamos a cerrar esto. Bueno, amigos, esa fue la llamada. Déjenme nada más cierro. Ay, chinga. Ahí tengo la pantalla. Acá. Se acabó lo que se vendía. Vamos a aparte de preguntas y respuestas, porque ya se fue mucho tiempo aquí, ya para irnos. Al final del momento, pues ¿cómo cerramos? ¿Qué pasó aquí? Ethereum. Ahí está, se fue al siguiente nivel, de 2.680 brincó directo casi al centavo a 2.754. Bien. Bitcoin, ahí sigue subiendo, sigue ahí en zona de consolidación. Perdón. Excelente. Mara, igual, no pasa nada, bien, todo lo que subió hoy está regresando un poquito, el 0.7 no pasa nada. Si Bitcoin mantiene aquí y vuelve a subir, o mantiene, que mantenga, con eso basta, ¿sale? Entonces, va a ser una muy buena subida, va a ser buenos movimientos, y ya para irnos, preguntas y respuestas, me quedé con Julio. Mara se va a seguir prestando para el trading totalmente, Julio, totalmente, y ahora más que nunca, porque recuerden que entre más volatilidad hay, más se presta para el trading. Y aparte, como Mara movió su trimestral a la semana que entra, no sé por qué fue, pero ojo ahí, puede ser algo interesante. Igual para comprar, si baja, para comprar y luego vender alto. Ya veremos. Y Jesús Bolaños, Inge, ¿cómo ve a APDN? ¿Podría dar alguna sorpresa? Ahorita APDN por lo pronto no, hasta que no avance la fase 3 que tiene pendiente. Y está como Saba, güey. Realmente está como Saba, estamos atorados con eso. Pero lo bueno o lo malo, como quieras verlo, de las farmacéuticas es que se mueven muy rápido y se mueven en cosa de minutos. En cuanto una pinche patente se pasa, en cuanto se brinca de fase 2 a fase 3, etcétera, se mueve muy, muy rápido. Entonces, tengo fe en APDN, tengo fe en Saba. Vamos a ver cómo nos va. Hay otra que se llama MAN, también me interesa mucho. Entonces, bueno, esas tres son mis farmacéuticas que tengo y vigilo, ¿sale? Y ¿sale? Ok, amigos, antes de irnos, no olviden darle like al video, dejar un comentario, suscribirse al canal. No les cuesta nada, me ayudan con el algoritmo de YouTube. Y también si pueden ir a mi canal de viajes, viajando desde cero, pasaporte de la aventura, también los agradecería. Vean los videos, denle un like, un comentario, un saludo. No les cuesta nada. Pueden dejarlo ahí en el background, en lo que hacen otra cosa. Y bueno, me ayudan con el algoritmo de YouTube. Realmente se los agradecería mucho. Y bueno, es lo que tengo para ustedes. Gracias a todos por su tiempo. Buen trimestral. Superamos EPS, superamos revenue, EBITDA positivo. Excelente trimestral, pero como dicen los españoles, jugamos como nunca, perdimos como siempre. ¿Sale? No pasa nada. Esto es una bomba de tiempo. Y si quieren mantenerlo abajo de 4.7 otro rato, otro mes, no pasa nada. La tablilla de Q4 2024 la va a romper. Ya lo vimos. Ya dije las películas que venían, una cantidad increíble de hitazos, ¿sale? Viene, por ejemplo, a ver, espérenme. Viene, a ver, un segundo. Viene Wicked, viene Venom 3, Moana 2, Gladiador 2, y para 2025 y 2026, Spider-Man 4, Avengers Doomsday, Avengers Secret Wars, Predator Movie, Jumanji, Jurassic World, Los Cuatro Fantásticos, Los Pitufos, Fórmula 1, 8 años después, Meg 2, Cómo entrenar a tu buena película, John Wick, Ballerina, Helio, la nueva Disney, Mortal Kombat 2, Pantera Negra 3, Thor 5, Scarlet, la Bruja Escarlata, los Avengers jóvenes, los Hijos de Midnight, los X-Men, Doctor Strange 3. A mí, o sea, vienen muchísimas películas muy, muy buenas. Esto, amigos, no pinta más que mejorar de aquí. Como les dije la otra vez, a partir de junio, y marquen bien esto, junio 2024 fue el punto más bajo que tocamos. A partir de ahí es puro Valle Verde, es pura momento feliz, ¿sale? Pura felicidad para nosotros. Ya estamos del otro lado. Y pues bueno, esto es todo lo que tengo para ustedes el día de hoy. Gracias de nuevo y no olviden darle like y suscribirse al canal y nos vemos, ¿sale? Hasta luego.